लेट अस स्टार्ट विद इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट. आज लंबी क्लास नहीं लूंगा, 1 1.5 घंटे क्लास लूंगा, बिकॉज ओपन आई विल ओपन इट फॉर स्टार्टअप कि किस तरीके से उसको स्टार्ट करना है. तो आज हम सिर्फ उतना पार्ट करेंगे कि कैसे करना है, क्या करना है, कितना करना है. तो बिफोर गेटिंग इनटू दिस इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट, लेट अस बी ओपन. हमेशा जैसे अपना क्लास में डील करते हैं उस तरीके से डील करते हैं. ठीक है, आप अपना हाथ उठाइएगा, जवाब दीजिएगा मुझको. आज इसको ऐसे रखते हैं. मेरा वॉइस ब्रेक हो रहा है मेरे को? माई वॉइस ब्रेकिंग? नहीं पूजा, माई वॉइस इज नॉट ब्रेकिंग बेटा. अगर आपका किसी का वॉइस ब्रेक हो रहा है या फिर नेटवर्क वीडियो ब्रेक हो रहा है तो माइट भी आपके साइड से प्रॉब्लम है, उसको एक बार सॉर्ट आउट कर लीजिएगा. ठीक है, पहला सवाल है, वाई इंडियन एविडेंस है? बिफोर गेटिंग इनटू इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट, पहला सवाल ही दिमाग में आता है कि हमको इंडियन, व्हाई वी नीड इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट, उसकी जरूरत ही क्यों है? ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. वी हैव इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट. If I talk about civil part, we have an Indian Contract Act which talk about rights and duties. And how these rights and duties are enforceable. Under CPC. If you see uh, in a civil part, if I talk in a civil part, so you will see there is a substantive law which gives you certain rights. For example, TPA, SRA, Transfer of Property Act, uh, limitation. I won't go for limitation. Rather, Sales of Good Act, Partnership Act. There are so many laws which give you so many rights and duties. और अगर उनको infringement होता है, if they are get infringed, the process is already given in some procedural law. If I say UB just ibi remedium, if I talk about UB just ibi remedium, then you will find one thing, that UB just ibi remedium, where there is a right, there is a remedy. The right is already given in Contract Act, Sales of Good Act, Partnership Act, and remedy is also given. If you see, CPC is one of the example where the remedy, the manner of finding the remedy is given, how to go to the court. Then why we need Indian Evidence Act? If I talk about, let it talk about criminal law, then liabilities, uh, offences are already been given. The POXO Act, IPC, Juvenile Justice Act, and the process to get enforced those liabilities or rights or infringements of liabilities already given under CRPC. The concept of UP just CV remedium is already complete. You see, the concept of UP just CV remedium is already been complete by a substantive law and procedural law. Then what is the role of Indian Evidence Act? Why we need Indian Evidence Act? तो अगर आप ध्यान से देखेंगे तो नीड ऑफ इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट, you have to understand, if this is my right, this is my right, and this is the remedy available. So if you see that there is a right and there is a remedy available, from this right to the remedy there is a gap. In order to achieve this right to the remedy, we have to go through a process, we have to go through a pass. That passage, that process is given, this bridge is created by India. So obviously, if I say you're right, what is right? What is right? Is given under substantive law. What is remedy? Given under procedural law. The answer to this both, what? How this right or remedy be obtained? How? Manner. Or हाउ का आंसर भी अगर यहाँ लिखा हुआ तो आई विल से द प्रोसेस टू ऑब्टेन remedy is given under Indian evidence. So if I say, अगर I say, if you say substantive, अगर आप इस देखेंगे substantive law जो होता है that talk about what? Procedural law talk about how, and this how connected to what is Indian evidence. तो बेसिकली इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट को अगर मैं जनरल लैंग्वेज में यूज करूं तो इट इज अ ब्रिज created so that the certain rights which are available in substantive law can be obtained through the procedural law. And this is the importance. This is the importance of Indian Evidence Act. So if I say what is Indian Evidence Act, so Indian Evidence Act, the nature. If I talk about the nature of Indian Evidence Act, what is the nature of Indian Evidence Act? मैं कुछ नहीं पढ़ा रहा हूँ आज. It's an introduction only. We have not even started Indian Evidence Act. Don't worry about it. We will discuss everything in detail. Nature क्या है Indian Evidence Act? Can anyone tell me what is the nature? Can anyone tell me what is the nature of Indian Evidence Act? Anyone else? Arsh has told me it is procedural. Anyone else? Both procedural and rather it's retrospective in nature. What? Anything else? Try to understand. मैंने एक चीज आपको क्लियर किया कि ये एक रास्ता है. It is both connected to substantive law and procedural law. अगर किसी भी चीज में, if I talk in a grammatical manner, जब कोई चीज किसी भी वस्तु की विशेषता को बढ़ा दे, anything which make some particular subject or object more enhance its value, उसको क्या बोलते हैं? विशेषण, adjective. Similarly, exactly. Similarly, if you try to understand, substantive law and procedural law को Indian evidence more intact और more powerful कर देता है और उसको more remedial कर देता है. If you see, so Indian evidence is basically adjective in nature. It's an adjective law. Why adjective law? Because it applies both upon substantive and procedural law equally. So it surrounds substantive law and procedural law equally, and that is why it is known as adjective. How we will discuss upon that, how you have to write in mains, how do you write in evidence PT also. We will discuss this because in certain book it is written it is a procedural law. Do not worry about that. That is also right, but how it differentiates, we will discuss it. So abhi to its importance, if you try to understand the jurisprudence of Indian Evidence Act, the jurisprudence of Indian Evidence Act is this, that it enhances the value of both the substantive law and the procedural law existing, and that is why we called it as an adjective law. Now try to understand. I'm not interested today to what is Indian Evidence Act, how it has to be dealt with. Or important is this. Next thing you always remember how to study this law. If you have studied Indian Evidence Act well, try to understand. Indian Evidence Act is a big bond. It is something like this. This is Indian Evidence Act, and whole laws are running like him. This is all laws. So this is if I called it these are laws, and this is laws. This is substantive laws, and this is procedural law, and this is what? This is Indian Evidence Act, and that is why this law has so much value, because in every law it have its role, and that is why if you have a well command upon this subject, You are well versed in each and every subject. This is the most vital, most important subject to study uh, when it's come to judicial perspective, basically. So it is important uh, to know how to study this subject. Obviously, we will be doing in depth of this subject. We will be doing everything into this subject. But this 25 classes, or it may increase to 30 classes also. Do not worry. I called it 20 classes, but I may extend it to 30 to 32 classes. But during these 32 classes, during these 32 days, two things has to be clear. You must study Bayer Act. While you are studying Bayer Act, आपको एक काम करना है, break Bayer Act. First of all, this law will make you learn how to read Bayer Acts. So while you are reading Bayer Acts, try to break it as much as possible as you can. For example, if it is written, what do you mean by fact? So it is written fact, mean, and include. Break it down. Take mean and include. Then it is also written mean and includes. ठीक है? State of mind, state of thing. Break it down. ठीक है? Manner of thing. There are so many words written. Suppose I'm just giving example of it. ठीक है? Conscious about. You break it. So first of all, in order to learn, in order to understand the Indian Evidence Act, first target will be to break the language of the Bayer Act. Once you break the language, make flowcharts. So from today onward, you will be doing two things very prominently. You will be making a separate copy in which you will be writing the Bayer Act from the Bayer Act obvious sections, writing into a copy and breaking these sections. So try to break it as much as, suppose you did first time, you break it to 5 points. Try another, you may break it into 6 points, then 7 points, then 8 points. Keep on doing this. Then try to make a flow chart of it. Once your flow chart is there, try to memorize the keywords. For example, I have not seen the Bayer Act, but I know few things. Mean is there, include is there, I mean conscious about is there, state of thing is there, manner of thing is there. What is this? I don't know the language, but I have broken down the Bayer Act in such a manner that keywords are being memorized to you. So this is your target, firstly. Secondly, once you're done with, you make sure that you will read cases. Read as much as cases as possible. So I will be giving you the name of the cases in each and every scenario. You will be reading those cases through LiveLaw, IndianQanun.com. Moreover, I will also be uploading all these cases upon our this app. So we have the app for the board sake this time. It is good. So I will be uploading section-wise cases also this time. So you will do cases of how to read the cases. What we do in other subjects, I normally say, if you remember, I always say, do not go into the facts and everything, just read what has happened, right? But in here, what you will do, for example, you have learned section 6 from me, section 7 from me, and I have given you the judgment. What you have to do, you have the case, write down the fact in a copy. तो जितने भी फैक्ट्स आपने उस जजमेंट के, फॉर एग्जांपल आई हैव गिवन अ जजमेंट, तो सेपरेट कॉपी व्हिच यू हैव मेड, जो एक अलग से कॉपी बनाया है, उस कॉपी के अंदर आप इन सारे फैक्ट, इस केस के फैक्ट्स लिखेंगे. यू रोट डाउन द फैक्ट्स एंड आफ्टर राइटिंग द फैक्ट्स, analyze the facts, and write judgment. This is your task. इन 30 दिन में, 30 डेज में आपका टास्क है कि आप क्या करेंगे, हर केस के फैक्ट्स को लिखेंगे, उन फैक्ट्स को पढ़ेंगे और पढ़ के खुद से उसका जजमेंट ड्रॉ करेंगे, कंक्लूजन ड्रॉ करेंगे. हाउ टू राइट अ जजमेंट, 90% पीपल नो हाउ टू राइट अ जजमेंट. इफ यू डोंट नो हाउ टू राइट अ जजमेंट, अगर आप हाउ टू राइट अ जजमेंट नहीं जानते हैं, तो obviously I will teach you again. If still you don't know, then I will अगर आपने CPC क्लासेस की होंगी तो मैंने जजमेंट राइटिंग कराया था, रिमेंबर? यू स्टिल नॉट रिमेंबर? डू सिंपल। CPC में एंड CRPC में देयर आर प्रोविजंस ऑफ जजमेंट राइटिंग, आप उनको रीड कर लीजिए बेसिक, तो आपको पता होगा कि जजमेंट में क्या लिखना है। तो व्हाट यू विल डू, आप केस को पढ़ेंगे, उसके फैक्ट्स को एनालाइज करेंगे, बहुत अच्छे से एनालाइज करेंगे, स्ट्रांगली एनालाइज करेंगे, और उसको स्ट्रांगली एनालाइज करने के बाद अपने आप you will write its judgment by your own without reading the conclusion of that case. Once you have write the judgment, now read the case. Up and find out the comparison. This is the second task. So Indian Evidence Act करते वक्त you have two major tasks to do, and you are lucky that it's a lockdown, you have plenty of time during this. The two major tasks you have to perform. First task is that you will be having a cases which I will be uploading it. If you are not suppose you are not interested in my cases, you can go to any live law and everything. Find out any judgment. Do not worry about landmarks. Find out any judgment related to a section which you focused. So, for example, have studied section 6, section 7. So, try to find out the judgment of Indian Evidence Act related to section 6 and 7, and read the facts of that case. And after reading the fact, draw the conclusion according to your judgment, your judicial mind, and then compare it with the judgment given by the court, and try to find out the lacunas in it, whether you have approached right or wrong. This is the second task you have to do while you are performing Indian Evidence Act classes. These two tasks: reading the Bayer Act, breaking it down, making flowcharts, then reading judgment on this basis. Judgment must reading only facts, and thereby drawing conclusion according to yourself, and thereby drawing judgments. तो इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट का क्लास कॉपी के अलावा एक पैरेलल कॉपी आप रखेंगे ही रखेंगे. Next things. Next thing is books to study. Keep this in mind very strongly. There is books is only to be for example. You will not be reading any book for Indian Evidence Act apart from taking examples, illustrations. If you want to learn illustrations, you want to run more illustrations of this, you can go for read books reading. I will be giving example, but if you want to go detailed reading, that is not required, because we will be going in very much detail while we were dealing with the subject. The books which are which you can go for reading is Avtar Singh. This is a student edition book, good for illustration. Second is Batukla. This is very good book for illustration. Try to understand. I am reading it for example, for illustrations only. I am not saying content wise, because I do not believe in content of Indian Evidence Act in the books, and that's why I am not preferring content wise. Third, you can go for Sarkar. It's a commentary. It's a Sarkar is a commentary. You can go for this. Fourth is a Sarthi Evidence, and this is very good book. Very good. Okay. So this is very good book. You can go for this. Then it is Ratan Lal, Dheeraj Lal. Dheeraj Lal. You can go for this, Ratan Lal and Dheeraj Lal. Seventh is Justice Munir. So it's a Justice Munir Indian Evidence Act. And eighth is Amir Ali. And this is a book which I read. So this is a book which I have read, and this is also a book which I have read. So these two books are which I focused basically. So these both are commentaries. But for you, I will prefer go for Batuklal, okay, for the purpose of illustration. If you want to go for, otherwise it is not at all required, because if you study casework, you do casework, that is per se enough to make you understand. So let us focus before getting into. So let us take a what we will be studying while we were dealing with Indian Evidence Act. What topics that will be covering for Indian Evidence Act? Topics. So obviously, so basically, my focus this time is to complete this subject basically into 50 hours, but it may extend to 50 to 60 hours. That means we can have 25 to 30 classes. You get 2 hours. It may vary. We can have classes. It may extend to 60 hours, from 50 to 60 hours. It varies between this. During this, the topics which we'll be covering is first is what do you mean by fact? We will be doing what do you mean by fact. Second, we will be doing what do you mean by fact and issue. And this is second. Third, what do you mean by relevant facts? While we're doing the relevant facts, here only we'll be completing the concept of relevancy, and we will be also doing the concept of legal and logical relevancy. We will be doing legal and logical relevancy here only. Once we are complete with this, we'll be doing difference between relevancy and admissibility. What do you mean by relevancy? What do you mean by admissibility? What is the difference between relevancy and admissibility? We'll be doing here. Here only, there only we'll covering detailed logical legal relevancy. We will be doing section 136 and 165 Indian Evidence Act. Right. Concept of admissibility in detail. We will be doing this. So we will be completing difference kya hai, what is the meaning of admissibility, how it differs from relevancy, whether these terms are synonym to each other or not, how these varies at the stages, what stages the concept of relevancy applied, or what is the stage of admissibility, or whether they both applies on the same stage or a different stage. We will be doing all this. Then third topic, we will be doing what do you mean by evidence. And when we're doing what do you mean by evidence, we'll be doing types of evidence. When we're doing types of evidence, we will be doing oral, we'll be doing documentary, we will be doing primary, we will be doing secondary. Doing all these basic, what do you mean by oral evidence, what do you mean by primary evidence, what do you mean by secondary evidence, okay? What do you mean by circumstantial evidence? And manner to prove circumstantial. What is the manner to prove the circumstantial evidence? We'll be doing all this. Then only we will be doing next concept, difference between evidence and proving of evidence. Proving of evidence. So what do you mean by evidence and what do you mean by proving evidence? And there only we'll be doing what is the meaning of disproof, proof, and not proof. So we'll be doing this. What do you mean by disproof, not proof? Proof. Then the topic we'll be covering is what do you mean by what facts, I will say, no? What facts are required to be proved? And what facts are not required? We will be studying there on section 56 to 58. What are the facts which are required to be proved and which are the facts which are not required? This is basics. When we are done with basics, then we'll be covering the cardinal principles of Evidence Act, rule of exclusion of hearsay or rule of best evidence. What are the cardinal rules of or best rules of evidence? What are the cardinal rule or the best rule of evidence? And we'll be doing this best rules of evidence. So we'll be doing exclusion of hearsay evidence, what do you mean by hearsay evidence, how they are excluded, okay, how they are to be given, how they are not to be given, what do you mean by hearsay evidence. We will be doing all these concepts. Then we will be doing primary evidence, how to give primary evidence, manner of proving primary evidence. Then we will be doing manner of proving oral and documentary evidence. Oral and documentary evidence. Okay. When we are doing oral and documentary evidence, there only will be doing how to prove the content of documentary evidence. How to prove the content of documentary evidence. That is 91 and 92. We will be doing this 91 and 92. There only we will be doing power of the court, power of court to examine witnesses and collect evidences. So how court have power to call for evidences or examine, and there only will be doing, again we will be doing section 165 Indian Evidence Act. We will be doing section 313 and 311 of CRPC. We will be doing order 16, rule 14 and order 18, rule 17 of CRPC. So how these are connected? Order 16, rule 14, order 18, rule 17. How all these is connected with section 165, and how judge have a power to examine witness. When he have question, he have right to question the witness, accused, or we can say when the parties, the plaintiff or defendant are not calling any party, but the court want to call any person, which is not being listed as a witness. Still, the court under section 165 read with 313, 311, order 6, rule 14, order 18, rule 17, power of the court, even section 151 CPC. How this court can utilize this power in order to find out the relevant facts. We will try to understand what is the extent of power to call these functions. Once we are done with this basics, we will go into the concept of relevance. That is from section 6 onwards. We'll go section 6 to section, I will say 16. No. So basic concept of relevancy, section 6 to 16. That is rule of Westchester, relevancy of conduct, motive, preparation, opportunity, occasion, rule of TIP, test identification parade, under section 9, how it is relevant, then rule of plea of alibi. Plea of alibi, we'll try to understand. Then we will also understand rule of inclusive and exclusive statements, and so how this accomplice or conspirator, all the concept will be rule of relevancy, will be doing it. Once we are done with rule of relevancy, we'll move under concept of relevancy. We will move under the rule of admissions and confession. What do you mean by admission and what do you mean by confession? So we will understand the difference between statement. We will be doing difference between statement, admission, and confession. We will be doing this. What do you mean by statement? What do you mean by admission? What do you mean by confession? How they differ from each other? There only we will be doing who can do admissions and confessions. There only we will doing when admissions and confessions relevant. When admissions and confession relevant, how they will be relevant. Then where we will be doing when confession and admissions admissible. When confession and admissions admissible. We'll try to understand, is it necessary that every time before this, prior to this, we will be knowing what is the difference between relevancy and admissibility. So our focus will be, is it relevant that all the admissions or confessions which are relevant are admissible? Not necessarily. So how and when particular relevant admission or a relevant confession admissible and when it is not admissible, we'll try to find out. And what statements will be considered admissions? What statements will be considered as confessions? We'll try to understand. We know the basic difference that admissions are in civil law and confessions are in criminal law. We will try to understand, can there be a possibility that admissions can also be there in criminal law? If yes, then how? If no, then how? When a particular statement will be considered as admission, when the particular statement will be considered as confession. We'll try to understand everything. Where the admission and where the confessions has been defined under Indian Evidence Act. Right. Then we will do the concept of dying declaration. What do you mean by dying declaration? Meaning difference of law, on dying declaration in India and England. You'll understand this. Okay. Manner of manner of recording dying declaration. BTC. We will be doing all the concept. How the dying declaration. What do you mean by the word dying declaration? How the dying declaration of India is differ from England. What do you mean by that? The concept of dying declaration in England, that it must be about death, and how it is differ from India. What do you mean by dying declaration? Does it mean that the person dying must know that he is about to die, or when a particular term does it mean dying declaration does always mean that it is talk about injury, or does it mean that it always be talk about a person who have a knowledge that is about to die? We will also understand whether dying declarations basically means when a person is on the deathbed, or it can be any other term which may turn into a dying declaration. We will understand all these concepts, and there only will be Paklan Swami and every judgment. Once we are doing with dying declaration, we will move into the concept of relevancy of previous statements. Yeah. So we will be doing how these previous statements are relevant. Then we will be doing, these are small topics. Relevancy of previous judgment. Section 42, 44. Then we will doing the relevancy of expert opinion. Section 45 onwards. We will doing this. Then we will be doing, once we are done with this, we will be doing burden of proof. Burden of proof and honors of proof. What do you mean by burden of proof? What do you mean by honor of proof? Okay, how they differ from each other. What do you mean by burden of proof of a fact? What do you mean by honors of a proof of a fact? In terms, what is the basic difference on these two terminologies? Okay, and how we will determine in a particular case, it is a case of honors of proof, or it is a case of a burden of proof, and what is the interplay of section 101, 102, 103, section 105, 106, and 104. So how they interplay with each other. We'll try to understand this part. Once we are done with this broader important part, then we will do the witness credibility. Okay, and impartiality. So when a witness is a credible witness, how can be impartial? What questions to be asked? So thereafter, we're doing examination, cross-examination, and re-examination of witnesses. So how these witnesses are examined, re-examined, and cross-examined. Okay. There only we're doing corroboration and contradictions. Okay. This is broader perspective. Thereafter, we'll be doing some important part. Amendments. We're doing amendments under Information Technology Act. What are the amendments that have been brought by Information Technology Act and 2013 and 2019 amendments? Now we will be doing 2013 and 2019 amendments in Indian Evidence Act, how it has been changed. Information Technology Act क्या लेके आया amendments? 2019 के amendment लेके आया. Some recent developments. Okay, during 2020 COVID situation. So we will try to understand this part also. Do 2020 has bring any recent development in Indian Evidence Act 2020 COVID situation. That is how to deal with e-governance, e-evidences, and all this. Okay, how this has brought up the change. Okay, we will also doing a topic of some small topic, refreshing memories, refreshing memory. Okay, we will be doing past statements. These are small topics. We will be doing proof of power of attorney, proof of power of attorney, etc. This is public doc. etc. means public documents. No, public documents, private documents. These are small topics we will doing in the ending. These are only readings. Right? This is what I will be doing. Apart from this, this is in depth. This all will be in depth. Certain topics which I will be bare act reading. So I might read bare act, I might not read bare act, but it is important topics. This is self-study. Self-study. You must do that. That are very necessary. Section 162. I will read, but you must go through it. 163, 164. You must do it. You must be doing section 67 to section 89 by yourself. I will be reading Doctrine of Estoppel. Doctrine of Estoppel. But I will giving an overview. 151 to 1115 to 117. But you will be dealing in detail. You will be reading in detail. Section 34 to 39. So these are the sections which you will be doing yourself. This is the overview. Right. But this is how we will cover the topic. Before, I am not going into first class. I am not going what is the jurisprudence and everything. But tomorrow we will be doing that part. But try to understand. Suppose, let us pick up an example. Suppose there is a murder of Mr. X. I will pick up this example. In 2009, presumptions. No, I will be doing presumption. Don't worry. May presume, shall presume, conclusive proven. I will be doing. So I will be doing 113A, 113B, 114. We will doing. That is all part of relevancy only. Don't worry about. We will doing that part. Don't worry. While I will doing relevancy, I will be covering out that 114 and everything. So suppose murder of Mr. X in 2009 and a body is found. Body found in 2020. Body is found in 2020. Koi unknown body. This is unknown body. And when Mr. X dies, he have a golden teeth. Right? He have a golden teeth in the mouth. Now the body is found in 2005, which is totally decomposed body. A decomposed body. But body have teeth. One teeth is gold. Try to understand. There is a person who is dead in 2009 and there is a body in 2020 who is having a gold teeth. And a person who died in 2009 is also having a gold teeth. So what this inference can be drawn? In how to prove? How to prove that body is of Mr. X. Now you want to prove that body is Mr. X. How can you prove? You can prove DNA. You can DNA profiling. And you can do DNA profiling and you can prove through gold teeth, है ना? In general, I am talking about general. As a human being, I am not studying about. I have not studied Indian Evidence Act. We have not studied it till now. But suppose there is a body in 2009, which is the person is dead, and there is we found a body in 2020. How we will connect that the death of Mr. X and the bodies of Mr. X? How we can connect to this? We have two manner of connecting them. First, we can go for a DNA profiling. Secondly, we can say that the person who died was having a third molar golden, and the body which we found is also having a golden teeth, which is a third molar only. These two factors, as a general human being, make you connecting to me. But whether these golden teeth evidence or DNA profiling will be allowed or not, is given under Indian Evidence Act. तो अगर आप इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट को पढ़ने की कोशिश करेंगे, to try to understand Indian Evidence Act, so what is basically Indian Evidence Act saying? Indian Evidence is saying what you are allowed to prove. So you cannot give evidence of anything. Under Indian Evidence Act, you cannot give evidence of each and everything. Rather, it is Indian Evidence Act which guide you. Okay, these are the laws. These are the facts which can be proved, and these are the facts which cannot be proved. This is the manner of proving the fact. This is not the manner of proving. So whether the DNA profile is allowed or not. So as a general human being, I can say yes, DNA can be allowed, but answer will have to be found in Indian Evidence Act, and answer will be given by Indian Evidence Act. And if Indian Evidence Act allow DNA profiling, then only the evidence of DNA will be admissible in the court. Similarly, if Indian Evidence Act law apply or allow that particular fact, that is a golden teeth, is to be taken as evidence, then only it will be taken as evidence. Otherwise, it will never be taken as an evidence. So basically, Indian Evidence Act not only provides what facts are to be proved and what facts are not to be proved, rather it also provides what facts can be given in evidence and what facts cannot be given. Right? So without this, so you cannot go beyond Indian Evidence Act. So my first question that come into existence is we have done the nature. What is the exhaustive? Whether Indian evidence is exhaustive or not. This is the first question that raised in the mind. Whether Indian Evidence Act is exhaustive or not. There are so many answers to this. There are so many books in which written Indian Evidence Act is not exhaustive. They are right. I'm not saying. You will find Batu Klal, you will find so many books which say Indian Evidence Act is not exhaustive. But my answer to this question is Indian evidence is exhaustive. It's exhaustive. How it is an exhaustive law, we will study that. Don't worry. So Indian evidence is an exhaustive law. When I say it's an exhaustive law, I'm not getting into the nature and everything because this all I will start tomorrow. I'm giving an overview only. It is an exhaustive law. Why it is an exhaustive law? Because you nothing is allowed beyond Indian Evidence Act. You cannot give any law beyond Indian Evidence Act. So there are certain books in which it is written it is not exhaustive law. They are not wrong. They are right. But how it is not exhaustive, we will understand that. But as general, your examination perspective, you must know that it is an exhaustive law. If it is come in PT, exact answer is no, it is not exhaustive. For the purpose of PT, preliminary examination, it is not exhaustive law. And books have written it. But for a purpose of mains or interview, it is an exhaustive law. And why and how it is an exhaustive law, we will study that. right? How it become exhaustive law, we will study that. Don't worry. नेक्स्ट इज एक बेसिक आइडिया था। अगर आप इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट का स्ट्रक्चर समझने की कोशिश करेंगे, to try to understand the structure of Indian evidence, it revolves about certain things that is known as facts, fact in issue, and if you see Indian evidence structure, you will find that Indian Evidence Act structure is based upon the foundation of these are facts, fact and issue, and relevant facts. So, agar I talk about this fact, fact and issue, and relevant fact, how they are connected. First, A have golden teeth. Let it be. A have a golden teeth. What is this? What is this? This is fact. This is a fact. ठीक है? What do you mean by fact and issue? When particular fact turn into a question or turn into a matter of inquiry, this is basic. We are not getting into asserted, denied by parties and everything. When a particular fact become questionable, when a particular fact become questionable, it is fact and issue. The question is whether A have golden teeth. If it turns like this, it is fact and issue. What do you mean by relevant facts? All facts which can prove fact and issue or disprove fact and issue are relevant. तो वो सारे फैक्ट्स जो फैक्ट एंड इशू को रेलेवेंट फैक्ट को प्रूव या डिसप्रूव कर सकते हैं, वो रेलेवेंट फैक्ट्स कहलाते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, क्वेश्चन इज वेदर ए हैव अ गोल्डन टीथ. द फोटोज ऑफ द टीथ, smiling face of A which shows golden teeth are relevant. X-ray of A's mouth is relevant, and so many other facts. तो अगर मैं ध्यान से देखूं, अगर मैं जनरल मैन की बात करूं, एज अ ले मैन आई एम ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय रेलेवेंट फैक्ट्स. तो रेलेवेंट फैक्ट्स आर द एविडेंशियरी फैक्ट्स ऑफ फैक्ट एंड इशू. ये जो रेलेवेंट फैक्ट्स होते हैं, ये फैक्ट एंड इशू के एविडेंसेस होते हैं. दे आर द एविडेंशियरी वैल्यूज और एविडेंसेस ऑफ रेलेवेंट फैक्ट्स. So how the relevant facts are to be proved? The evidentiary facts of fact and issue are termed as relevant facts. So tomorrow we will do this perspective. In this perspective, we'll move forward. This is the overall structure of the subject. We will pick up tomorrow from the very beginning. We'll pick up from the preamble. We'll try to understand the preamble. We will try to understand how it is applicable. What is the nature lex foreign? What do you mean by adjective law? What do you mean by exhaustive nature of the Evidence Act? We will do the jurisprudence of Indian Evidence Act, and there only will move into the concept of fact. What do you mean by fact as per Indian Evidence Act? What do you mean by fact and issue as per Indian Evidence Act? What do you mean by relevant fact as per Indian Evidence Act? What do you mean by physical facts? What do you mean by psychological facts? How physical fact differ from psychological fact? Division by Bentham, division by Justice Munir, and so on. And there only we'll move into the concept of relevancy and what is the difference between logical legal relevancy and how Indian Evidence Act deal with relevancy, whether it talk about only logical relevancy or legal relevancy or both, and how the stage of relevancy turn into admissibility, and who is the person who decided the admissibility. Okay, we will try to understand tomorrow. All this will be covered. Most probably tomorrow I will be sending a recorded video. If possible, I will try to come live. If I'm not possible, because some issues are there, medical issues to my father, so that's why I might not having so much of time. So I might send you a recorded video on your application only. So you people have downloaded app. If I have an iOS version by today only, then obviously tomorrow will be a recorded video. If no, so tomorrow I will be trying to come on live at 8:30. Same link will be there for tomorrow also. You can ask the question. All facts which can prove or disprove fact means you are relevant fact. Uh, yes, Sagar, for right now we can say this. पूजा मुस्लिम लॉ में कुछ क्वेश्चन है पूजा ठीक है यू कैन आस्क द क्वेश्चंस इन मुस्लिम लॉ एनी पर्सन हैविंग एनी क्वेश्चंस रिगार्डिंग मुस्लिम लॉ he can ask or she can ask it, nobody, so we can have the question hour time this time.